Welcome everybody. Everybody that's coming in right now. Not sure how long it takes for everyone to get in here. I'm might be a little early. Just gonna give us a minute. Make sure everybody can get on there. All right. So a couple things. Welcome. Welcome. This is our second webinar for today. It's the same topics as the first one we did earlier today, just different time period. Couple quick things. For this webinar, any questions you have, feel free to type them in the chat box. I've got Paul with me and Jack, and they're both going to be monitoring the chat, and anything they can answer while we're going, they will. We will have some Q&A at the end of the session, if there are still questions after that. So, like I said, feel free to chime in and add whatever whatever questions you have. With that in mind, I'm gonna just preference this with all being this is a basic training. We're not getting too deep in each thing, so you may see some things that we will be skipping over. Again, this is designed to show you how to patch some fixtures, make some looks, store some cues, and make something happen. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So first screen you see when you start up a new show in Vista is your patch screen. We obviously have to patch some lights to do anything first. So we're going to go through this first. Across the top of this screen, we have the 6 main screens of Vista. So our first one is patch. Our next one is the console views, our fixture chooser, timeline, playback. And for you eagle-eyed Vista users already, you might see a new one back here called user configurable window. This is because this is the R3 beta that we're testing out right now. So you might see a couple little things. So I'm not going to go into much on it. But if you see something that looks different from what you're used to, that would be why. So first off, we're in our patch screen. First thing we need to do is patch some fixtures. So in this patch screen, we have our universe tabs. Vista has lots and lots of universes, depending on what you need. These are not tied to any particular outputs, so you can patch into whichever one you want. Obviously, easiest is to start with the first universe. So in patch, along the right-hand side, we have our fixture library. There are lots of fixtures in the library anymore. So you can expand the fixture libraries, expand the manufacturers, and look for what you want if you really want to. However, with so many different things, it's getting very hard to do that. So what I suggest is using our search box. Search box works quite well. So the first fixture I'm going to look for is the Robin LED wash. So start by typing in the fixture name, Robin, LED 1200. Oops, let me type it in correctly first. 1200. And you can see, even though I haven't typed it in exactly what it says in here, it still finds it for me. So the search works quite well. I'm looking for the mode 1. So there's a couple different ways of patching in Vista. So the first way I can do it is simply click and drag, and that's going to patch me one fixture. In this case, I want to do more than that, so I'm going to undo this. And in Vista, you can use Control-Z or undo to pretty much undo anything in here. So in this case, I'm going to say I'm going to do 10 of these. And because I patched one already, I'm going to change my fixture number back to 1. And at the bottom of this window, I can hit the patch button, and boom, there are 10 fixtures consecutively patched in this window on my first universe. Now I need to patch a few more fixtures in here. So now in universe 3, I'm going to keep it simple, and we're going to patch dimmers. Dimmer. So in Vista, we have a factory library and we have a generic library. Factory library, anything that's named, that has a fixture name with dimmer in it. Then generic is basically where anything that's can be used for multiple different things can go. LEDs, RGB, generic RGB LEDs, dimmers, scrollers, even there's some other like utility circuits and whatnot in here. It's a great place to go if you're looking for something basic and you don't know if there's a fixture profile for it. Check the generic library, and there's probably something that will work for it. I'm going to do 301. So again, I'm selecting dimmers. I'm going to change my quantity to 12 this time, and I'm going to patch them in this universe. So after we've patched our fixtures, we also have to do the connect universes button here as well. This is how we assign these universes to an output. So if I click on that button, it opens this screen up. So right now I have a virtual MV connected or a virtual MV in the console screen. So that's what these two lines mean. But I also have a physical UD512 connected to my computer right now. So I see this connected box means that is checked and it's there. Device info, port info, not at NA. Don't worry about that. That's only applies to certain things. And another new thing in this beta is this output enabled, and we'll get into that later. But right now, Vista Universe 1 is assigned to this single port of the UD512 because it only has a single DMX output. So we have to make sure that we have something assigned there. Now, obviously, in this patch that I just did, I patched 3 different universes, so I wouldn't have enough space to output these. So I could make this any which one I wanted it to be, or not assigned. If I had something in the situation where I needed network data, I would add a network connection at the bottom of this window. So by clicking on that button, it opens up this little window, and this is the add network connection. So the first item is ArtNet broadcast. And ArtNet is a network or DMX over network protocol. There's also streaming ACN and Pathport. If I added, to keep this simple, we're going to just stick with ArtNet. So if I wanted to add an ArtNet connection, ArtNet starts at 0, so I leave these numbers at 0 and I click add. After I add one, no matter which way I do this, if I do it ArtNet or streaming ACN, after I add one, it automatically increments to the next one. So I could click on add and add 3 or 4 of these pretty quickly. And now I'd have these 4 ArtNet broadcast ports. They're going to say not connected right now because I have them turned off in my network setup. But I'd also have to add change these to their Vista universes. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down the line, or whichever ones I'd want to do. Once you have all your things added, you say close, and now you're good to go. So moving on to the next screen in Vista. So my next screen is the virtual console screen. As I said, I had a virtual MV. So this virtual MV can be undocked from this window, and it can be put anywhere. You can put it on another monitor. When it's in here, it's docked, so it's be fixed. Because I don't have an MV attached to this system right now, this logo around with Vista is grayed out. If I had an MV attached, we'd actually see this logo light up. The circle around the T would become red, and it would show us that there's a physical connection to a console. Also, if I moved the fader up and down on the physical console, I'd see it move here as well. So in this case, I don't have one attached. I don't have any other consoles. If I had more in here, I might see tabs across the bottom of the screen showing that I have an EX or another MV or even older consoles as well. This screen's also where I would take a cue list. If I have cue lists in here, I'll take them and drag and drop them onto the console. And we'll see that in a little bit once we start making some cue lists. All right, moving on to the next screen. This is our fixture chooser. So in our fixture chooser, we're going to see every fixture we have patched into the show file. So right now I have all these robins up here that I put in. I've changed my spacing a little bit on my grid spacing, so you might see a little different if you did this on your own. I prefer the wider spacings. It just gives me a little extra room. But in this fixture chooser view, I can rearrange this to how I'd like to see everything, how I'd like to make things work. I can drag my groups. And this is a setting in Vista to auto create these groups icons for fixtures as they're patched. I can turn it on and off if I don't want it. But as these are, they are handy because now I have these full-on groups, or I can select them that way. If I want to do more arrangements with the fixtures, I can click on the entire group of fixtures and right-click and say arrange in grid, arrange in arc, arrange in circle. So in this case, I'm going to do 2 rows and 6 columns of these fixtures. And you can see that they've now moved around like that. So if I want to take these 4 and bring them over here, these 4, and we're going to separate them a little bit. Also in this screen, I can do some other things like give these background colors. So if I select those 4 fixtures, right-click them on again, say items, icon color. It allows me to change that color in the background. So now I know that, say these fixtures are red, these are my red dimmers. I know that that's what they're going to be. So I'm going to change those to blue. And I'm going to change these to, let's say, amber. So now I know I have my red dimmers, my blue dimmers, and my amber dimmers. I can also rename them in this view too, in case I don't want to look at fixture numbers. Right click on them again, say renumber, or not renumber, say label, and call them red. So if I zoom in, I'm zooming in right now using my mouse wheel. There are also zoom controls here on the right-hand side or left-hand side with the pluses and minuses. Also 100% will show me everything. And then if I have fixtures selected, this icon here will zoom to the selection. So you can bounce yourself in and out of different zoom levels quite easily. Now I'm not making the nicest looking layout. However, with Vista, we can do multiple layouts. So depending on what you want to see, each programmer or each part of your rig can have a different layout. That's what this tab here at the bottom is. So right now we're working in layout 1. Let's say I wanted to create a new one and just show my dimmers. There's multiple ways of doing this. So the first way I could do this is I could right click in here, say layouts, and do new layout, duplicate layout. I like to do duplicate layout. Because it's going to show me everything in here right away. It's going to do exactly what I just looked at. Now what I can do is I can filter this. So I will select all of these, and then I'll right click on them again, and I'm going to say items and hide items. So this hides everything from this layout, so I'm only looking at these dimmers. Well, let's say I accidentally did something I don't want to hide. If I right click in here again and go to manage layouts, it gives me this layouts properties window. Shows me both layouts and the different things they have. Here's where you can also see where I changed my grid spacing from the default of 10, I believe, up to 50. Different things I can show, like let's say we want to show fixture show intensity value. That means now when I bring the intensity up and down, I'll see a number rather than just the graphic. And on this side, I can see the fixtures that are being shown. So if I decided I don't want to see certain dimmers, I can remove them or bring them back. And as I said before, if I took out something that I don't want to see, I can re-add them here. In this case, I don't want to add anything else. I can also take care of the groups and other things as well. So now that I have a layout, let's say I like this layout, great. I want to make sure this layout stays exactly the way it is. I hit this button down here called locked, unlocked, and it changes to locked. That means now if I try to grab a fixture and move it around, it will not move. This is definitely very handy because it's very easy when this is unlocked to accidentally pull a fixture when you're trying to just select it. All right, so moving back to our first layout. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here so I can get these a little closer and we don't have to be zoomed quite out as far. Something else you might notice is the different look in these icons. This is because these icons for these fixtures have a custom element creation or custom fixture element arrangement. And that is done now by, let me get these numbers in order because I'm completely OCD about this. If I were to right click on these fixtures and go to my customized fixture arrangement, this is where it lets me arrange the elements of the fixture. So in this case, I took the 4 different elements of this fixture because it's a multi-element face, and I moved them around so that they were stacked so it looks like this. That's why this one looks different from everything else. It won't look like this. If you were to patch these, it would not look like this by default. This is a user arrangement that's been done. When you do an arrangement, it's going to save it to your user data directory, which means later on, if I go and create a new show and use this exact same fixture, it's going to suck this arrangement from my user data directory, so I don't have to do it again. However, if you move to another place with a different show file, you may have to redo this or also export and grab that arrangement and take it with you. All right. So now we've got some fixtures in here. That's nice. We got fixtures. Now we want to make some things happen. So if you've noticed, as I've been selecting and deselecting fixtures, the things on the right-hand side of the screen here have changed. They've lit up and they've gone away depending on what I've selected. For example, when I select dimmers, my features, so this is called the features palette. This is a dockable item. It can be put on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, anywhere on the screen. It usually lives right here with everybody else. In this first window, we've got a tab. We've got different tabs. The first one's called the All tab. It's kind of a quick summary of all the things that Vista can do, or all the things the fixture can do. In this case, I have just dimmers, so I only have access to intensity. Position, color, none of that stuff will do anything. If I select a different type of fixture, like the Vipers, I have intensity, I have position, color, gobos, all types of things. But this is just going to show me quickly what these things do. If I have multiple fixtures selected, it's going to show me the most each fixture will do. So in this case, I can do intensity because I can do it on both. But if I do position, it's only going to do it on the fixtures that can move. If I need to get deeper into a fixture, these tabs across the top show me more of the items and what the feature, more depth into what the features can do. So for example, intensity shows me the intensities, also shows me steps and 10, 20s. The -5s and +5s are very handy. If you grab a group of fixtures, then you can -5 and +5 the whole thing. Also strobes, shutters. And at the bottom here are the custom, the raw DMX parameters. The way Vista works is when I'm working with everything up here, I'm working in generic values, which means in something like color, I'm selecting and I'm saying red. I'm not saying magenta at this value, this at this value. I'm just saying, just put me in red. That way, if I take a fixture like this and I copy and paste it to a different type of fixture, it's going to go to the red. It's not going to go by the values. If I were to adjust something down here manually in the raw DMX, it would kind of override all this and it would go by these manual values, these raw values. So when possible, you want to use in the generic values. So again, intensity, position. Position doesn't add a whole lot more. You have flip and fine here. But position is handy for, especially if you're programming without a console and encoders, is using these scroll bars on each side to do pan and tilt. One thing that is a challenge when you're trying to move a fixture around and just do this, it's hard to go just one parameter at a time. So using these is very handy. And back to color, we've got a color picker. Hue saturation values, CMY values, RGB values, depending on how you like to do this, how you'd like to program. If I have a color wheel, I'm also going to see a graphical representation of the color wheel. This shows me physically where these colors are and which slots they're in, which can be really handy if you're looking to do a color bounce between two adjacent colors. And then in the gobo wheel, gobos are going to show, again, where they physically are on the wheel. The other nice thing about Vista is it's very visual. So if I select a gobo like this, I see it here. I see it in the fixture icon here as well. And also, if I add a spin to it, I can see it spinning in here. So you can get a lot of visual feedback from the program without actually having the lights in front of you. Finally, the beam tab. If I had a fixture with framing shutters, I'd be able to adjust the framing shutters here. Or in this tab, focus, zoom, and iris, and frost are all in here. And these will come and go depending on what items are in the fixtures. So in this case, I don't have iris available in that one, but I have focus, zoom, and frost. Finally, the last tab's custom. If there's anything that doesn't fit this generic model, it might show up in the custom window. All right. So as we're working our way around the screen here, at the bottom of the window, we have what's called the multi-quick picker. This is an area where we can just assign different items depending on what we want to use. So by default, I've got groups, presets, FX templates, and Q lists. For the purpose of this little session, we're not going to get in the FX. That's going to be for tomorrow. The groups, these are the auto-created groups. If I wanted to create new groups, I can fully do that. If I select fixtures that way, there's lots of different ways of creating groups. One would be to select fixtures, right-click in here, and say fixture groups, and new fixture group. That would create a new icon of fixtures right there. And this could be called red. So again, I have a new group right here. I can also create a group, same kind of situation, grabbing the fixtures, right-clicking in the groups window, create new group. When you do it that way, it's just going to push the group down here somewhere. So if you're really trying to make sure you put all your groups in a nice order up here, I find that I like to do it this way the most, by right-clicking, because it's going to put that group icon right where I put that. And now I don't have to drag it around again. Anytime I add a group, it's automatically being added into here. Same thing for things like presets. So presets in Vista are the same as a lot of other consoles that might call them palettes, or other, presets are palettes, pretty much the two. They're building blocks. They're ways of creating something that you want to see used over and over again. So if I had these fixtures selected and turn them on and put them in a position, and let's give them a color too while we're at it, because these are color wheel, I don't have access to, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I can do it through that. They are color wheel, but what will let me do is it lets me use the color picker to do it this way as well. So I have this look right now. I've got intensity, position, and a color. And I can create a preset here and say, create new preset, right click again. And then this window pops up. This is going to tell me what I want to name this preset. I'm going to say this is going to be called red down. It's really hard to type on a keyboard. It's missing half the key letter on the front, like the letters. So what happens is I have the different options of what I'm recording. So in this case, I'm recording position and intensity. By default, we don't record that. What I say, it's position and color. By default, we don't record intensity in presets. You have to manually select it. The reason for that is you rarely record these presets with intensity. However, they can be handy if you're doing something like a front light and you have everything balanced for video. You can record that intensity and recall that preset that way. But that's something you'd have to manually say, okay, I do want to do intensity. So in this case, I'm just going to do position and color. Red down is my preset. Global values means that it's going to record the global color value of this. So I could apply this global value to any other fixture. And when I say okay, I'm going to have this new preset down here. Another nice thing about the way the presets work down here is I can filter these windows. So in this case, if I want to see only presets that contain position, I can do that, and I have that one. If I want to see only ones that do color, I can do that one. If I wanted gobos, I don't have any right now, but I would have gobos. This filtering also applies to the playback of the presets. So we're going to clear this out. And I'm going to turn those lights on. And because I can apply this preset, I can give that the red and the position. And I want to back up for a moment here too, because something that I haven't mentioned is the way Vista works. The generic fixture model lets me do some really creative things without having to think about it. So in this case, if I take these two fixtures and turn them both on, and let's say I turn this one to red, and I'm going to turn this one to cyan. So I just programmed that as red and cyan. I don't care how they got there. I can take that type of information, I can copy and paste it to other fixtures. So this, again, I can use Control-C. I can use copy and paste here. In this case, I'm going to do Control-C on the keyboard, Control-C. Now I'm going to select the entire group of fixtures. I'm going to use Control-V, which is paste, or Command-V on a Mac. And I can paste that look to everything. I can also paste that look to a different type of fixtures. So Control-V again. Well, now what's happened here is because these are color mixing and these are color wheel, I didn't have to care about that. Vista knew is going to take this fixture to the slot closest to make the red that I picked on these and the cyan on these. So that's part of the generic fixture model. It's you're programming by the intended output and not by the actual physical place it has to go. And because of that, I can take a preset like this, which was programmed as red, and apply it to multiple fixtures at the same time. So coming back to where I was with presets, with the filtering on the presets. So right now I have this preset that has position and it has color in it. If I wanted to filter it on playback, let's do it this way. Let's take presets here, and I'm going to make this position, and I'm going to make this one color. So it's the same preset on both of these. However, if I play back this preset from this window that's filtered by color, I'm only going to see the color in there. Or if I play back that preset from the side that says position, I'm only going to get the position of it. So it makes it really flexible. You can have a single preset that does lots of different items, but only filter it on playback by the item that you want. So instead of having multiple presets for the same thing over and over again, we can do it all in one. All right. So now we made some presets. Probably want to make some cues. Let's just see here real quick. I'm just checking my list. Oh, another thing that you've noticed is as I'm going through this stuff, I'm clearing out the program. I'm hitting the clear button. Everything I'm doing is being done in the live tab. So this is the programmer and this is the highest priority. So as I do something, it's being captured by this programmer. So when I'm done, I like to clear it so I have nothing else. And you can see that goes away. The circle goes away there. The clear button goes away there as well. Also, what you might have noticed is I'm going to zoom in on these fixtures. This little blue circle at the top of all these fixtures when I select them, this is a selection order. If I'm to run effects across these fixtures, they will go by this order. This is driven by the sort order up here. So for example, if I took those 6 and I changed my sort order to odd and even, it's going to say 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way down the line. So if I ran an effect, it would repeat itself after itself right to there. The default is selection order because it's going to go by, it's assuming that you're selecting them in the way you want. At the bottom of the screen, there's also some other selection tools. Something like the line tool can be very handy for selecting fixtures because it's going to select in a different order. So if I wanted to do something like that, now my selection order is not showing, but it would show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and down the line that way. The middle one is a lasso. I've actually never really found a whole lot of use for that one, but some people might. I prefer to leave it this way. And then also in here is the fan. And we're going to back this out a little bit. We're going to go up to here. I'm going to select these fixtures because I want more to see. So fanning is something where I can use it to either fan colors in positions, all types of things.
Hey, Ben, I just question in the chat there. Can you just show paste special to specific attributes?
Yeah. Yep. Let's do that then here real quick. So yeah, in the copy and paste, what I did is I did something. I took all the parameters of the fixture that I wanted, Control C, Control V, and pasted it all. But let's say, I don't necessarily want to do that. If I Control V to these, it's pasting the position also, and maybe they were already in the position that I wanted. So if I undid that, and I do Shift Control V, it brings up this paste special window. And this would let me decide what do I want to paste to these fixtures. So in this case, I have it would paste everything here. And there's also these 2 other arrows here, which basically deselect all of the parameters. So if I say I want to paste the color and the intensity, leave the position where they are, say OK. Now I have just that part of it. So again, that's Control Shift V. Also in the edit menu, we have paste special there, Control-Shift-V. Mac, Command-Shift-V. All right. What was I doing? Oh, fanning, yes. So yeah, fanning. The fanning order here lets me fan all the parameters. So the easiest example in this case, since I don't have physical fixtures in front of me and I can't really fan the pan and tilt for you to see, is to use the color picker. And if I use the color picker and hold my control key or the yellow modifier on the console, I can fan that color out across multiple things. You can fan pretty much any parameter, including gobos if you really wanted to. It could be handy to fan something like iris or focus, but it's a quick way of doing it. So again, you hold the yellow modifier on a console or the control button on a keyboard, and then you can fan those parameters. And this fan adjustment here changes how you want to fan. So the default's linear fan. I could do fan from center. So if that was the case, my center would stay the same, or the outside would stay the same, depending which way I went, and it would change those directions. All right. So moving on to creating some cues. Since we've played with making looks and doing like that, we need to save it to something and play it back somehow. So the first way I'm going to show you, there's three different ways, at least three different ways. There's save some cues here. The first way I'm going to show you is called the direct edit mode, where I would take and I'm going to create a cue list right here. I'm not going to assign it to a playback yet. We're just going to make some looks. So to do that, I can hit the new button. And when I hit the new button, it opens up a new cue list. We have a new tab at the top of the screen here. And we're in the first cue. This is the first cue right now. The way that direct edit mode works is a little different from other consoles. You're not storing to a random location. You're in the cue list right now. So I equate it to if you were to open up a Word document. You open up a Word document and you type in what you want and you save it at the end. That's the way this works. We're opening up a cue list. We're going to add in the looks that we want, and then we're going to save it at the end. So right now I have my first cue open. I'm going to select my fixtures, give them intensity, give them some color, and I'm good with that. I like that right there. Everything I did is being saved in that cue as I went. I'm going to hit the green plus icon here. It's going to insert a new cue after the selected one. And I'm going to change to a different color. And while I'm at it, I'm going to move some position around. And yeah, that works good. So I'm going to go to my next cue, go to another color, and I'm not going to change anything else on that one. One more cue, and I'm going to turn off the intensity. So that's 4 quick cues that I've just done. Right now, the cue list has not been saved. It's still open. So when I'm done with this and I like what I have there, I could use these transport controls too to go back through and look at it. So Q1, Q2, Q3. It's all been done at a 2-second default time. This could be changed in your defaults. And also another thing in here is when I click through a cue like this, it automatically changes to what's called cue view. This is basically like a blind look between your cues. So if let's say I'm sitting in my first cue and I think, oh no, what did I do in Q3? Are those lights still on? I can click to Q3 and it's going to show me I'm still playing Q1 on stage, but I'm looking at Q3 in the fixture chooser. So I can say, oh yeah, that's good. That's where I want it to be. All right, great. When I turn off Q view, it's going to bounce you right back to Q. The view is going to go back to Q1. The opposite of this is link. If link is enabled, anywhere I click, any cue that I select is going to snap to that cue, and it's going to snap to it on stage. It's going to snap to it in the programmer. So this is handy when you're programming and you want to just quickly go through your cues and look at them on stage. I can just bounce through it that way. And I'm done with that. Link, turn link off. By default, link will stay off because Vista assumes that you want to make sure that you're not accidentally changing the look on stage if you decide to click on something else. So now my cues are saved. I'm going to close out the cue list. I'm going to hit the X. And at this point, I can say, do I want to save this cue list? I can save it. I can save and release it, which will turn it off for now. I could get rid of it or cancel and decide, oh, no, I don't want to keep going. So in this case, I'm going to say this is the quick move. And I'm going to save and release it. So now I've created that cue list. It's sitting in Vista. It's not on a playback yet. If I wanted to put it on a playback, I'd go to my console screen. And here in my cue list pool, I have my quick move cue list. And I can drag it and drop it onto a playback screen above it. So now when I would play this, I'm going to undock this so I can go over to this screen. When I play this, I can see that those changes are being made. I'm going to dock this back up here again. I'm going to release. So right now, there's nothing up here. I can't edit a cue at this point. If I wanted to go back and change that, I could hit the edit button, and it would show me which cue lists are available for editing. If I say that one, okay, it's going to open me back up, and there I am. All right. So that's one of the ways of storing cue lists in the one way of storing cue lists by opening it first and doing it in the edit mode. Another way is using the store all function. So to do that, I'm going to undock this. I'll bring this over here so I can see this. So store all does not involve opening up a cue list. You're going to take your fixtures, you're going to make your looks in the programmer, and then you're going to store them to a location. So this is more traditional. This is getting closer to the traditional way of other consoles where you say something record Q1, enter, things like that. So for in this example, I'm going to take these I'm going to take these fixtures. We're going to do it this way. And I'm going to turn them on. Cool. That's my thing. I'm going to hit store all. Store all window opens like this. First, it's going to prompt me where I want to store it to. So Vista assumes that I wanted to store it to the cue list I was already working on. In this case, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit the browse button, and I'm going to open this window up, and I'm going to say we're going to do a new cue list. New cue list 2, new cue. Good. I like that. Say OK. So now here's my new list. And let's say my cue list label, this is going to be, I'm going to call this my pars because I'm going to assume that these are my front light pars. Here's where I'd label my cue list and my cue name. And take that red. And now if I were to hit OK right now, this would do exactly like what the new function did. It would just start the cue list in the pool somewhere, but not assign it to a playback. But if I have a console in front of me, or I know where I want to assign it, at this point, I could hit the select button above a playback, and you don't see any feedback, but what I've done is I've told this that I want to save it right here. So if I say OK now, I see my cue list is there. Some other things that have changed is this: when I create a cue list using store all, it sets it to HTTP mode, and it sets some other parameters in the back end of this playback. It also clears. It clears. It plays some. It does some things in the back end here. So now it sets this playback to autoplay and release. So it's basically like a submaster mode here. So as I push it up, it plays in that queue, and I'm good to go. If I want to create another queue on that list, let's say I take these lights and I bring them on and turn these off. And then I say store all again. And it says, OK, I'm going to store to the same place. And say OK. And now I have a second queue there. And it clears the live tab out, so I'm ready to go. And let's do a third one. Bring those on. Take these off. And say store all. Same queue, or same queue list 3. And if I play this through, here's my Q1, my Q2, and my Q3. So this is a way of doing this from the live tab to queues that are that you've already selected a location for. And again, when I bring the fader down, it releases it automatically. So it's good to go. All right. The other option of storing a queue is store part. So store part works a little bit differently. And I'm going to do it this way. Rather than explain it too much, we're going to show you. So in store part, I could bring up my fixtures. And if I hit store part, actually, I'm going to change this. Change my mind. I do that sometimes. Give them some color. So store part, different look of the window here. It also allows me to filter what I'm storing. It can do some other things with this. Again, it assumed that I want to save it to the same queue list that I originally did. In this case, no, I want to create a different queue list. We'll call this queue list wow. It sounds fun. So now I have a new queue list. It's the ID of 3. It's going to be a new queue here. What I can do in store part is a lot more. There's a lot more adjustability to what I want to do. So I could say I want to store all fixtures, or just selected fixtures. I can store everything from the output, or just the programmer. So in this case, I'm going to say just selected fixtures and just the programmer. And the features, yeah, you know what? I'm going to select everything. I'm going to take everything. If I select the, can't do that. Created that queue list. In store part, you can't hit the button to do that, unfortunately, but that's okay, because I can go back into my console view over here. I can drop this guy in here, and I can put my WoW queue list on here. Now, what also store part didn't do is it did not clear the programmer out at all. So I'm still playing this through. And it's important to know these types of things, because if for some reason I have a queue playing like this, and I also have something in the programmer happening, I could easily mistakenly have everything selected, or had things selected, and turn them down. So let's say there was a point, at some point during the program, there was a light that was ghosting, and the operator took it and turned it to 0, and off it all went. The programmer has higher priority than anything playing in any queue list. So here I could be playing through things to my heart's content, and nothing's happening because it's still captured in live, even at a 0 level. So that's why it's important to always take a look at this little area, this circle here, and see that, hey, there's something there, or the clear icon is lit up a little bit. So if I click on either one of those, it clears live, and now I'm back to seeing what's actually supposed to be happening on stage. So one other thing that I wanted to do to show you here too is with store part, between store all and store part, what store all also does is it records everything from everywhere, the entire look of the console. So in this case, right now I have 2 different queue lists running. And for fun, I'm going to add some other fixtures into this, take those, turn them on, and make them blue. So now I have the data that's being output to the stage right now includes this information from this queue list, this information from this queue list, and then this stuff that's happening live. If I were to say store all from right here and select a new location, what this is doing is it's going to capture everything that's happening in here, and it's going to save it to this new queue list. So queue list 4, say OK. So now when I take those back down, release, clear, everything, when I play into this one, I see everything that was up from everywhere. So store all is more of a, I hesitate to say snapshot, but it's grabbing everything that's contributing to the look on the stage at this moment. So it's a great way of going through, and if you have multiple queue lists that are running and you had this completely awesome look on stage that you have no idea how you made it because you had 6 different things running and a couple of different things that were being manually driven, store all will let you grab that and put it in its own queue list. Did you have something there, Jack?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard you start say something. Okay, and also back in the store part, sorry I'm jumping back and forth between these two because they work together, but they also work differently. In the store part window is also a way where I can merge other data into a queue. So again, I'm going to take those fixtures, turn them on, and do store part. And because I did store part on that queue list, I'm still in WoW. I'm going to say new queue. We're going to do this. We're going to do a couple here, a couple more queues. And take these off. And this time I'm going to do this to make it look different. And one more queue. Excellent. Okay. Clear and go. So let's say I'm in here somewhere and I've realized that, you know what, in this queue, I should probably change something. We're going to add in these here also. In store part, I can also merge in these changes. So I'm in Q3 on the WoW queue list. I could select that. And when I select that queue, it automatically changes this to merge. I could replace it if I wanted to, if I decide I don't like any of it. Or I can merge that in. I could also merge in just parts of the parameters. And in this case, I only have intensity, so I wouldn't do much good in changing any of that stuff. But now if I do this, it's letting me add this information back into this queue. So if I keep playing through it, make sure I clear that out. When I get into Q3, now I have those all coming on together. So, oh, one more thing I got to get into. So we've had queues built and we want to look at them. If we go into the edit menu again and I select my queue list, I'm going to go back into my quick move queue list, so the first one I did. And in here, we've created the queues, but now I want to see exactly what's happening in each queue. So I go to the next screen, which is called the timeline view. And this is going to show me all the parameters that are in these queues, everything that's happening. So if I zoom this all the way out, I can see my 4 queues. As I play through, I see this cursor move across, and it shows me in real time what happens between these. So here they change position, they mix to a different color, mixing to another color, and then finally the fixtures fade off. If I want to adjust any of this stuff, I can click on these parameters and I can drag these boxes. So in this case, if I wanted to shorten the fade time on this off, if I drag this center box, cyan box here, it makes this shorter to a 1 second fade. If I also wanted to skew this time of this, I grab the center bottom cyan box, I can skew the time. So now it would stagger off as it played. If I don't like any of that stuff, I can Control Z and undo it. I can also grab this gray bar on the end here to lengthen the entire queue out. So this is at 2 seconds right now. If I wanted to lengthen it out, I could drag it to 4 seconds or 5 seconds. And anything I do here can also be done by typing in a number. So if I say I want that to be 4, I can change that to that. When I do something like this, I could grab all of those. And let's say I want to do, I want it to fade. I want to do a sweep across the fixtures. I'm going to turn link on so I can go up to there. And now when I play that, because I made that sweep, you see the color start at this end and fade its way down to the other side. And that's all because when we're playing through this look right here, as the playhead moves across things, that's what happens in the queue, or that's what happens on the fixture. Something like split times, if I wanted to manually create a split time, I could take that and take just the pan and tilt parameters and push them to the front of the queue. Then I could take the color parameters, push them to the end of the queue. And now I have a queue that has a split where the pan and tilt are going to happen first, then the color is going to happen after that. Let's say that's 1 second for that, 1 second for that, a little short. When I drag this back out, it proportionally scales both sets of events to their new times. So that it still stays with the 50-50 split, but it's just longer at this point. Also, with the fan options here, I can fan these times. So just like doing the the dragging of the boxes. If I hold the control or the yellow modifier and drag from the center bar that shows up, I can fan based on what this is saying right here. So in this case, if I have it fan from center and I drag that center, it's going to let me do things like that. So it's really easy to do very complex effects, complex fades and offsets with just a couple of clicks and a little bit of dragging of something. Again, let's say I did that and it's like, that doesn't quite work. So Control Z, undo it, get myself back out of it. And I could continue to undo myself back to where I was. So that actually is close to what we had scheduled for this. What do we have for questions?
Just one question to do with deleting events in the timeline, Ben. The question was how to delete an entire fixture out of a range of queues. So a range, but you might want to show the remove selected first.
Yeah.
But that's for the entire queue list to begin with.
Yeah, so if you want to remove a fixture from a queue list, which happens, I've done it quite often myself. So let's say this fixture here, I don't want it in any of these queues. So across the top of the screen are our soft keys, and these keys are context kind of adjust based on your modifier selections. So if I hold shift down, they change to this set of items. If I hold some of these other ones, they go to other items here. One that's not on here is the remove selected, which I actually like to add to these. And that is, I have to remember where I actually put that. Remove selected. So remove selected will remove this fixture from the entire queue list. It's great option if you've programmed your entire queue list in there and you had the fixture that turns your relays, that turn your lights on and off, has been programmed in the whole thing, and you don't want that in there. If I use remove selected, it's going to remove all of the events tied to that fixture, and this will actually go away. So we'll see 15 will disappear from the list. Now, if I only want to remove an event, a single event for that fixture, I can select it and simply hit delete, and it goes away. The fixture's still in the queue list, so because it still has this event back here. If I were to remove this event, then they would have nothing in the queue list, so it would go away completely. And pertaining to the options up here, if I wanted to add something in this, so right now, if I hold my Control and my Alt key on my Windows keyboard, it brings up this fifth layer of soft keys. If I said I wanted to add remove selected to this, I could right click on this button here and then go into my tools and say, let's put remove selected on there. So now instead of me having to go into that to find it, I could click there and go remove selected. Yes, boom, done.
One last question, Ben, that you should be able to demo quite quickly. Can you show how to move a component from one preset box to another?
Ooh, one preset box to another one.
Or one quick picker to another.
One quick picker to another one. How are we meaning? With like quick picker pages?
Yeah, just hold green and just move stuff around from one.
Oh, okay. Shoot, which one's?
Add a new page or go to favorites or something.
Yeah, let me do that. Let's get that. Yeah, so one of the things, and actually I'm gonna go a little back farther with this. With the standard options in here, we have groups, presets, FX templates, things like that. There are some things here we're going to get into our webinars tomorrow, like extracts, snapshots. One thing that gets overlooked a lot is the favorites screen. Favorites is a great place to take different types of items and drop them in the same spot. So if I had, oops, hold on, sorry, getting the wrong key. If I said I like that preset, I could throw it in there. And let's say I also want to have this group in my favorites window. Now I have a window that has different types of things. So I could select these and I could select my favorites. So to do that, I'm holding my Alt key or the green modifier On Mac, Alt is Option. Um, and that allows me, when I hold that and click and drag, that allows me to move it between the different windows to a different window. Also in favorites, we have different pages. So I have a page here. If I wanted to add a new page, I could right click in there and say add new page. I can add new pages to the different preset pages as well. I find sometimes adding too many pages, you can get a little bit out of whack and forget where you're at. But favorites is great for pages. Pages in QList, and the QList view works out well because you can put in different. Maybe you want to separate your QList out between what types of fixtures they're doing, or what they're maybe the song. Maybe you have a song that has multiple QLists in it. You can create different pages for all those.
I just jump in for a second, Ben.
Yep.
Just some questions in the chat. Just working backwards because there's quite a few coming at the last minute there. Steve, with the presets and one quick picker to another, that's what Ben's just talking about now with holding down the Alt or green modifier and just moving stuff around from one page to the other. Moving back up to Stephen's question about how to change or flip and how a fixture reacts. I don't know if you just want to point as you go, Ben. Back in the patch, we have something called the Transforms tab. Down at the bottom, and from here you can find common settings such as invert pan and invert tilt, which will just flip those settings completely in reverse. We're not going to go into it probably in too much detail in this webinar, but you can actually add an advanced transform and actually start to offset something like the pan as well, maybe if the fixture's hung at an angle, but no doubt we'll go into that in a future webinar. And I think one of the last questions there was, can you go from live to queue during a show? How do I ensure? Again, I guess that question there about how you're ensuring that live, what you're doing with live doesn't stay in the queue. They're two separate things actually anyway, so you can press clear manually, or as I mentioned a little bit further up in the chat, if you want to make sure this is going to happen, is you can store a snapshot to clear the program and program that in your queues as a command, and we'll be talking about that in tomorrow's webinar, how you can tile that together.
Yeah, we have to save something for tomorrow. There's plenty of stuff for tomorrow. This is the intent of today, is to just kind of get you some basics on how to just get some fixtures programmed, get some fixtures patched, programmed, and make some things play back so you can see stuff happen on your stage. Tomorrow we'll go into effects, snapshots, and a little more on all that. There is a lot to Vista. No matter what, we could probably fill multiple hours worth of things like this by the time we drill down into everything. Part of the key here is we don't want to overwhelm people with too much information. I know there's a lot of information that has to be done very quickly. So, in attempts to keep it as simple as possible, we're limiting how deep we go in right now. So, any other questions before we wrap this one up?
Well, we had one question about uploading the webinars to online as a training resource. We're looking into that. We've have actually been experimenting with recording the two webinars that we've done today, but as this is our first one, we're kind of learning on the job. We've had a few technical issues, but we'll do our very best to upload them. But failing that, we are working on some official Vista videos as well, which would go through at least this content that we've done today. So that should be on there in the future. And lastly, what is the last new tab, Ben, for the
new tab?
feature?
All right, so I'll give you a little preview on the new tab. So the new tab it's actually been something that's been requested, is a user configurable window. It's just like our external windows. It's a blank canvas for you to put in whatever you want. So if you wanted to add a quick picker, you can add multiple quick pickers to it and rescale them and move them around. We could add a playback window. So this is kind of a window where you could set up something for your operators to have a single place to drive through everything. So, and as you can see, things will move around and you can reformat it. So and that replaces the old output view. You still have access to the output view should you need it, but we found that that was used less than anything else, and this has been a lot more flexible and usable now. So yeah. Sorry, I'm checking out chat. Yes, using the programmer live can definitely cause some issues, and we see that often. Also, with that is I don't ever recommend running a queue list while it's open. This is left, queue lists are left open. The reason for this is it's easy to have multiple. You can have multiple queue lists open at the same time. However, it's very dangerous because if you decide that you want to add something, you might not know first off which queue list you're adding it to. But second, when you do that, it's being done as you do it. So if you meant to add something and you didn't want it to always be there, when it's open for editing, you can do that. When it's closed for editing and you're playing it back, anything you do is being done in live. So if I wanted to turn that light on for a little bit of time, I know that I haven't adjusted my queue list, so it's not going to stay. It's going to continue to stay on because it's in the programmer, but I can hit clear and know that it goes away without worrying about it. So yeah.
Just to jump in on Jonas's last questions, we get asked this question a lot between store all, store part, or going into the editor. It's all personal preference. They've all got their kind of advantages and ways of using it. It's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong way of doing stuff.
Yeah, personally, I prefer to have it open. I like to be in the editor because I'm very visual. I want to see exactly what's happening. Um, I've never been a fan of the blindly just taking lights and doing store all and throwing them someplace and hoping that it's right. That has bit me in the past on other consoles. So having it here and being able to see in the timeline exactly what's happening in each queue is the way I like it. Plus, I can do my edits pretty quickly here without having to then reopen it later. So if I want to make these changes, it's ready to go and I don't have to reopen it.